Today is Tuesday, October 21st. We're talking about America's push for peace in both Gaza and Ukraine, how tragedy may have been avoided at a major American airport, and why part of the White House is being demolished. Plus, what caused a massive global internet outage, the reason a new study says fewer children have peanut allergies now, and how squirrels are getting smarter and busier this time of year. Those stories and even more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. The White House is acting as mediator in both Ukraine and Gaza, but the road to peace is not always a smooth one. New reports say, once again, a meeting between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky descended into a shouting match, with the U.S. urging Ukraine to accept Russia's terms to end the war. For example, Trump has been pushing Zelensky to give up swaths of territory to Russia, even though just last month he said Ukraine could win back all of its land. At this point, Zelensky still insists his country will not be, as he put it, handing out gifts to an aggressor. Yesterday, in the first press briefing since those talks, Zelensky said he would be ready to join President Trump and Russian President Putin at their next summit, though Trump says he and his team are working to make it comfortable for everybody. Meanwhile, two of President Trump's top negotiators are in Israel in hopes of keeping the peace process for Gaza on track. Vice President J.D. Vance is due to visit today. Roughly 200 American troops are also in Israel, setting up a coordination center to monitor the ceasefire and help humanitarian aid flow into Gaza. International partners are expected to join soon, and this all comes after a few flare-ups in violence. But as of this morning, both sides say they're still committed to peace. President Trump can go ahead and send troops to Portland, Oregon. That's what a federal appeals court said this week, blocking a lower court judge's ruling that said the opposite. The latest court said Trump's decision to send in the National Guard was an appropriate response to protesters who had damaged a federal building and threatened immigration officers. But state and local leaders insist the protests have been mild, that local law enforcement can handle them, and that military presence only inflames tensions in their communities. So legal challenges are still playing out. President Trump has even asked the U.S. Supreme Court to weigh his authority to send troops to Democratic-led cities after a different appeals court ruled against his decision to send troops to Chicago. To be continued. Authorities say they stopped what could have been a tragedy at the busiest airport in the world. They arrested a man in the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport who may have been planning a mass shooting. The man's family told police he had been streaming on social media and said he was headed to the airport to, quote, shoot it up. They say he wanted to hurt as many people as he could. Police found him in the terminal when he seemed to be walking back to his truck. And in that truck, they say they found an assault rifle. Authorities are already familiar with the suspect since he's been charged with making terroristic threats before, as well as trying to commit aggravated assaults and more. So far, neither he nor his lawyer have made any comment. In the face of the ongoing government shutdown, airports have been dealing with a growing number of staffing issues in air traffic control, and delays have been adding up, especially in places like Dallas, Chicago, Atlanta, and Newark. The Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, says the issue is air traffic controllers have found other jobs to keep paying their bills, since during a shutdown, they're supposed to keep working without getting paid until the government reopens. Of course, not everyone can afford to do that. And even before the shutdown, many air traffic controllers were working mandatory overtime and 6-day weeks to make up for a staffing shortage. But the problem doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. The U.S. Senate voted for an 11th time yesterday on a GOP-backed bill to temporarily fund the government and end the shutdown. But for the 11th time, it fell short of the 60 votes it needs. So lawmakers are stuck in a stalemate. Democrats are still pushing to include an extension of healthcare subsidies they say are needed to help Americans afford coverage, but are about to expire. And Republicans still say they won't negotiate until the government reopens. Many of those Republicans are headed to the White House today for urgent talks on how to end the standoff. Stay tuned. Demolition crews began tearing down part of the White House this week. They started ripping through the side of the East Wing yesterday to build the ballroom President Trump has spearheaded. The president celebrated the project getting underway by saying every president for more than 150 years has dreamed of having a ballroom to accommodate grand parties, state visits, and more, and that he's getting it done, so it will be used for generations, mostly thanks to donations. But the new renovation project has been criticized by mostly Democratic lawmakers who say the president's priorities don't align with average Americans. And images of yesterday's demolition went viral, with some saying the White House being torn apart represents the unprecedented times we're living in. The Treasury Department is actually next door, giving employees there a front row seat to the construction. But they've been told not to take or share any more photos of the project, at least not without approval. More news is coming up in just a moment. But first, I want to talk about our sponsor, Calm. Have you ever felt like you're just constantly told to be better? A better parent, a better partner, a better worker, a better version of ourselves. It can honestly be exhausting. I used to think I just needed to try harder at everything. But the ironic thing is, when I finally stopped putting all that pressure on myself, that's when I actually did get better. My mindset is a huge part of that, and lately I've been loving the Calm app for helping me find the right mindset on a daily basis. Even just 5 to 10 minutes a day truly helps me release stress, slow down, find gratitude, and it absolutely makes a huge difference in how I show up for both myself and the people around me. I love it most for short guided meditations, but I also reach for it when I'm having trouble sleeping or just need a boost of motivation in my day, since there are sleep stories, expert talks, calming music, and more. And I'm not the only one that thinks Calm is so great. Calm is the #1 app for sleep and meditation. Calm your mind, change your life, truly. Calm has an exclusive offer just for listeners of our show. You can get 40% off a Calm premium subscription at calm.com/newsworthy. Go to calm.com/newsworthy for 40% off unlimited access to Calm's entire library. calm.com/newsworthy. Now back to the news. Japan has elected its first woman prime minister. Sanae Takaichi is an ultra-conservative who's known as Japan's Iron Lady, as she's an admirer of former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. She has a Japan-first ideology, promising to prioritize Japan's national interests and economy and crack down on immigration. President Trump has spoken fondly of Takaichi in the past, calling her a highly respected person of great wisdom and strength. And she has said she hopes to work closely with Trump to make the American-Japan alliance stronger. She's expected to be sworn in later today. Then she has a meeting with President Trump early next week. Takaichi is actually Japan's 4th prime minister in 5 years. President Trump signed a new deal with Australia's prime minister. It supplies the U.S. with Australian minerals and rare earths. Rare earths include more than a dozen metallic elements that are needed for computer chips, medical equipment, electric vehicles, defense technology, and so on. The deal also includes billions of dollars in American investment. Since Australia is rich in resources, but still needs to build the infrastructure to mine and export minerals at scale. It comes as the Trump administration has been trying to build a critical mineral and rare earth supply chain that's not dependent on China, even though it currently dominates the global rare earth supply chain. China announced strict export controls on rare earths earlier this month, and Trump has threatened 100% tariffs on Chinese goods if the Chinese government doesn't back down. He's meeting with China's president in South Korea later this month, then visiting China early next year, hoping to reach common ground on trade. Peanut allergies in children have seen a sharp drop ever since new guidelines came out for parents. A landmark trial in 2015 found exposing babies to peanuts early instead of avoiding them could cut their chances of developing an allergy by more than 80%. So in 2017, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases issued new national recommendations. Flash forward to this week, and a new study was published saying peanut allergies dropped by 43% for people who followed the new guidelines. In other words, the new advice appeared to have helped 60,000 children avoid a life-threatening allergy. By the way, doctors also suggest parents give their babies other common allergens early. For example, eggs, milk, wheat, and soy. Now that peanut allergy rates have gone down, eggs are now the most common culprit of food allergies in children. Experts suggest talking with your child's pediatrician about the risks of allergens, plus the right way and right time to introduce them. Amazon says a massive outage has largely been fixed and systems are back online. The Amazon Web Services outage yesterday brought down thousands of high-profile apps, websites, and online platforms. AWS is the largest cloud computing service provider in the U.S., so its impact was far-reaching. It affected financial services like Fidelity, Coinbase, and Venmo, communication tools like Slack and Signal, some airlines like United, video games like Fortnite and Roblox, media organizations like the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Disney, and many more. Estimates say the outage could end up costing billions of dollars in lost sales. It all started at around 3 a.m. Eastern when Amazon made a technical update to a widely used database service. The update knocked the database offline in Amazon's critically important Northern Virginia data centers. Then other AWS services began failing too. OpenAI has started cracking down on deepfakes in response to Hollywood backlash. Studios, unions, talent agencies, and high-profile actors like Bryan Cranston have expressed concerns about the new AI tool called Sora 2. It lets anyone create realistic, high-quality audio and video using just text prompts and images. Remember, some users have been making fake AI-generated videos of historical figures or celebrities doing things they never did. And that sparked talk about intellectual property, creative expression, compensation, and more. So yesterday, OpenAI announced it is working with Bryan Cranston, SAG-AFTRA, and other unions to protect against deepfakes. And it's being stricter with its new opt-in policy we told you about, giving all artists, performers, and other people the ability to decide how or whether they can be simulated. The company is also working on blocking users from creating well-known characters on its public feed. And it's supporting a bill in Congress meant to protect people from AI-generated content across the industry. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Trivia Tuesday, when we ask a different trivia question every week. But first, this episode is brought to you by Hiya Health. Every parent knows how hard it can be to start healthy habits with kids. But in our house, Hiya made it easy. My 4-year-old takes his vitamins and probiotics every day, and he actually looks forward to it. He loves the taste, and for me, it's nice to see him building a healthy ritual he's excited about. Unlike most children's vitamins that are loaded with sugar and gummy additives, Hiya has 0 sugar and 0 junk. Just essential nutrients like vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, and folate, plus a blend of organic fruits and veggies. Hiya is formulated with pediatricians. It's vegan, allergy-free, and third-party tested, so I know they're safe and effective. And are you tired of battling with your kids to eat their greens? Well, Hiya now has Kids Daily Greens Plus Superfoods, a chocolate-flavored greens powder designed specifically for kids, packed with over 55 whole food ingredients to support brain power, development, and digestion. Just scoop, shake, and sip with milk or any non-dairy beverage for a delicious and nutritious boost your kids will actually enjoy. And we've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/newsworthy. This deal is not available on their regular website. So go to Hiya Health, HIYAHEALTH.com/newsworthy and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Okay, now back to Trivia Tuesday. And today's trivia question is, how many people have ever lived on Earth? Listen again next Tuesday for the answer and explanation. As for last week's trivia question, which animals get smarter in the fall? The answer is male squirrels. The part of their brains involved in memory actually increases in size this time of year. They gather even more nuts than usual. Then they hide their stash. Individual squirrels can bury as many as 10,000 nuts each year, storing each type of nut in a different location. Though they don't always remember where their nuts are buried, and sometimes those unrecovered nuts sprout new trees. Other times, they're not even storing nuts for real. Yep, squirrels do sometimes fake hiding food so other squirrels don't try to steal it. Thanks for joining us to get caught up on the news today. We're so happy you're here, spending a little of your time each day with us and being part of the newsworthy community of listeners. If you feel the show is helpful, we always are so grateful when you let others know about it. It's truly one of the best ways for us to grow and be able to keep doing this each day. And a special thank you to our newsworthy insiders for all your support. We so appreciate you. We'll be back tomorrow with the latest news to know. Until then, have a great day.